What's up, guys? Rotodewok here, and I want to apologize for the delay on this video. Um, Sorry, I was having some issues with my voice and just dealing with a little illness, nothing serious. Thankfully, that's all out of my system, so we're back and fully operational. And so, for today's video, I wanted to take a slightly different approach than usual. A lot of my videos have been, reaching a bit on the long side. So for this, I was initially combining a bunch of different concepts into one video, but I felt like it would be much easier for people to access and go back and reference them at a later point in time if, just each video was its own thing. So we're going to be doing that. We're going to start off with this video covering stats for competitive Pokemon, what each of the numbers mean, and how to use them. So, in my opinion, the best way to get familiar with these stats and just the best tool for building your team is going to be the Pokemon Showdown damage calculator. I'll put a link in the description below. This is absolutely fantastic. This is how I come up with all of the sets for my Pokemon when I say, oh, for Adamant Dragonite, if you want to outspeed Starmie, you need 180 speed EVs with 31. Or outspeed Starmie after Dragon Dance. And how do I get that number? I go here. I put in Dragonite. I'll actually pull up my Dragonite set. I'll say, alright, do I want to be faster than Starmie? Okay. Starmie hits 361. We set this to 50. We set this to 50 for PokeMMO, of course. I'll say, alright, after one Dragon Dance, I am 184. This is Timid Max Speed Starmie, so I need exactly this much speed to always be faster than Starmie. And that's how you get those numbers. And this is how you make your EVs have purpose, right? So we're going to discuss how to get the most out of your stats. Because you could just run max speed, right? But what are you trying to do with max speed? Are you going to try to, I don't know, speed tie Adamant Scarf Mamoswine after a Dragon Dance? Like, stats help, but there's a lot of times where if you just go 252 in two stats, you end up wasting stats. Like, you could take a small reduction in some stat that doesn't really matter and get much bigger benefit. So this could be max attack, but you still KO Starmie at +1 attack. After rocks, of course, but this team always has rocks up, right? So you can go ahead and put those points in speed, and now suddenly you can actually outspeed the Starmie and also kill it, while still having the bulk to set up in front of Ferrothorn's Gyro Ball and bulky Rotom Wash's Volt Switch. That's kind of the point of this set. So, that aside, now that we can show why these stats are so important, let's get into exactly what they do. We're going to pull up Mew, because in my opinion, it is the easiest to see the effect of stats, because we're working with base 100s across the board. Let's go ahead and set this to a neutral nature. So let's take a look at this in terms of PokeMMO first. So let's explain how we get these stats. For your stat, you notice we have 105 here. This is the stats the actual Pokemon has. How we get this is you have 5 base stat in every stat. That's every Pokemon always has 5 there. Then you add that to your base stat. So basically, your Pokemon stat is 5 plus base. So in this case, 105. Perfect. Makes sense. Then we'll go over to IVs. IVs, at level 100, give you 31 IVs. But at our level 50, they give you 15.5. Now that 0.5 isn't reflected here, and that 0.5 doesn't do anything. Everything after the decimal is truncated in Pokemon. So having this right here, right? Let's say, so this is just flat 120, and this is 120.5. These are the exact same. You won't get any increased damage from that 0.5. However, the reason it becomes important is because with EVs, which go up to 252, basically every 8 points of EV gives you 1 stat at level 50. And at level 100, it's every 4 points. So, if you have a number like 248, which is the highest number divisible by 8 that you can fit in here, there's no half, right? This perfectly divides into 31. And so, we have this extra half, and if it exists or not, our number doesn't change. However, as I'm sure you've noticed, this number's higher. And the reason is, this 31.5 and this 15.5 combine, and both of those 0.5s add with each other, and so we end up getting a point of stat. Basically, the reason I'm going over this here is a lot of people want to save as much money as possible in breeding, want to get the cheapest and simplest breeds possible. So this is when you can go ahead and run those 30s and IVs without a noticeable difference. And of course, sometimes you just want to be cheap and you just want to make a 3x31. But this is when how to save money without actually affecting performance at all. Because, as we'll see, even Pokemon with, an abysmal base HP total of 11, right? You still want those EVs in there. Because IVs and EVs, they're not multiplicative, right? This is just 15 stat. So a Blissey gets 15 HP stats from this IV, And with something like a Rotom also gets 15. So the worse your base stats, actually the more impactful your IVs become. So the rule of thumb is if the number of EVs that you're using is divisible by 8, so something like this, that means there's no halves, so you can get away with the 30. So if you're not planning on investing, like Mixed Infernape, where you go speed, special attack, attack, these, all your defenses and your HP can all be 30, and you'll see no difference at all. That being said, it might be nice to have them as 31, so if you decide you want to change up the build a little bit, add a little bulk, you're not losing any stats. But if you're sure you're just going to run offensive, then there you go. And then, of course, if your number is divisible by 4, but not by 8, you do need that 31. So hopefully that explains EVs and IVs pretty clearly. And then at max level, of course, if you are playing on Showdown or anything like that, each IV is just a stat, and it's 4 EVs for a stat. Any number lower than 4, like 3, gives no effect. This is basically because of the truncation again, right? So we have 0.75, or actually, I suppose right here, this would be like 0.325 roughly. Don't quiz me on that. It's just a decimal, so it goes to nothing. You end up having 6 EVs. It's just a weird fact of Pokemon. I'm honestly not sure, right? So if you've ever fully EV'd a Pokemon, you'll know that you have 252, 252, and then 6. This 6 might as well just be a 4. I think it has something to do with integer values in early Pokemon games. Oop, let's go ahead. Actually, we'll start this. I like this one. We'll listen to this one more time. So, we're just about done here. Stay with me. One thing that I do want to bring up here is natures. So natures are multiplicative, and that it includes your base 5, your base stat total, your IVs, and your EVs. So if we go ahead and take this, our invested stat with no changes has our, so we start with 105, we add 15 for IVs, 15.5, right? That brings us to our 120, and then we add our 31.5, that brings us to 152. So you take 10% of that, 15, add it, and you get your 167. So the reason why this is important is when you're choosing your nature for your Pokemon, you want the nature that ends up giving you the most amount of stats. And a lot of times when I've been seeing mixed offense or mixed defensive Pokemon, people are running natures that give them objectively less stats. This happened to me with an Excadrill set I was running. I'm going to pull it up here just as an example. I don't remember the exact specifics, but I was running Jolly, and I wanted to hit the speed, because at the time it was fairly relevant. I wanted to outspeed Scarf Garchomp in the sand. So, this is how you'd calculate that if you want your Excadrill to be just that fast and no faster. That way you can save your stats, because it also, the other thing the set was supposed to do is have over 400 HP. We'll set this to 50 so we can get accurate ones. But the set was also supposed to survive Seismic Toss from Chansey, which wasn't as important, but more importantly survive Nightshade from Jellicent and Dusclops, so that you could set up without risk of burn. Also, Nightshade, and by extension from Bulk. Hex, unboosted Hex, from Bofrigus. Right? I think it was a decent set. It's still my favorite Excadrill set. So go ahead here. We'll turn on the Sand, and we will see Sand Rush. Okay. Now in Sand, our speed is doubled, so we're way faster than Scarf Garchomp. So we'll take this number down, 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 down. Okay. And so we need to be 154. Cool. 60 speed. That's what you need with Jolly to outspeed this. Then, the next number we went was HP. We want this just over 204. And the reason for 204 is that I wanted my substitute to be able to have enough HP to always survive. And this is the lowest number. Any Pokemon that can hit this number can make the subs. Any Pokemon that can't, doesn't. Then, I believe we went 252 attack. And where did that leave us? So this is 208. So we had 54? No, we had 48. Yeah. So I think we put like 48 defense, right? So this is the set that I was running, because I was thinking, cool, I need this Jolly speed. However, if you look at Excadrill stats, you have a massive base attack. So by taking my 10% bonus to speed, I was getting a higher percentage of a lower number. What someone pointed out to me, and I'm very thankful that they did, which is really just put my mind in this sort of perspective every time I'm building teams from now on is that if I were to run Adamant Excadrill, right? Let's remember Jolly and Drill stats. So I needed to hit 254 speed, and I needed to hit 204 HP. If we take this to Adamant and go ahead and crank this up to 254, and what's the minimum? Okay, we go to 148. We can keep our defense investment, and yes, we're going to end up with a lower HP, or a lower attack. Sorry, let me remember what that was. In this case, I'd actually change the defense over to this, because you end up not maxing your attack EVs, because you go... What's that? Sorry, my mental math is not as quick as it should be. No, you have 500 total. Guys, I should be more professional and find the exact armor, but roughly 200-ish, right? There's some number higher than this. That's the amount of stats that we had. So, 150, okay. What we can see after all of my fumbling around is that this attack is much higher than what it was with Jolly. I still hit the HP benchmark, I still hit the speed benchmark. I just got a better Excadrill, objectively better, by doing this. So, making sure you pick the right nature to maximize your stats is very important. I've seen this come up with mixed defense Mandibuzz. I ran a slightly less than ideal mixed defense Mandibuzz once, and I am sad about that, so I'll change it. That being said, there are times to run Jolly Excadrill, right? Like, let's say you want to outspeed Scarf Starmie, right? So Starmie, we've got base 115. There are some Pokemon. Well, you can outspeed Scarf Starmie. Let's say you want to outspeed... let's say base 120, right? What's base 120? Not sure. But let's just go ahead and crank this to something I do know. Let's outspeed an Aerodactyl, right? You just cannot do that with Adamant. So Jolly gives you less stats overall, but sometimes you just need that boost. And that's the reason to use a less efficient nature, is if you need those stats. This is why you'll sometimes see something like a Bold Blissey. Even though Blissey gets massively more stats from a calm nature, sometimes you just need that physical defense number to survive a certain hit that you cannot hit with another nature. And that's the reason to pick those stats. So, this is a little more in-depth than I planned, but hopefully this has explained everything that you're ever going to want or need to know about stats in Pokemon. And yes, if there's anything I left out or any more questions you have, feel free to leave them below. And I'll try to have a couple more of these out just honestly today. This is really fun, and hopefully this is a more helpful way for people to get this information. All right, see you guys later. I completely forgot to do this the first time I was recording, so we're just going to insert this here. The giveaway, it's been a week from the first video. So, thanks to everyone who typed in giveaway. This way I can just go to comments, search for that. We had 45 different comments, so we're just going to do this and say, roll a 45-sided die. And we'll see who that lands on. Rolladie.com. Alright, rolling a D45 14. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Sure you're guessing me? There are much better ones out there. I think you'd really enjoy BKC. Okay, Porygon 2. That is a very good choice. Right, so if you could just give me your in-game name, I will get in touch with Groftal King. Yeah, I will get that set up, and we should have that for you in just a couple days.